Welcome to CRM Audio, the Dynamics 365 podcast with Business Solutions MVPs George Dubinsky, Joel Lindstrom, and Sean the CRM Hobbit Tabor. This episode of CRM Audio is sponsored by Alexa CRM. WordPress powers more than 25% of all the websites on the internet and is the number one choice for blogs, websites, and portals because it's open source, simple to use, reliable, and extendable. Dynamics CRM has become a de facto standard in sales, marketing, customer service, and industry solutions. Now they can work together thanks to the Dynamics CRM WordPress plugin built with love by the Alexa CRM team. Capture forms, engage your users and customers, all without writing any code. Control your site in WordPress, keeping your data in CRM. To build the plugin, Alexa CRM has created an open-source Dynamics CRM PHP toolkit, unlocking the world of Dynamics for PHP developers. Download your 30-day trial from alexacrm.com/plugin and instantly create a portal by connecting your CRM and WordPress site. We thank Alexa CRM for their sponsorship of CRM Audio.
Hi, this is Joel Lindstrom. Stay tuned after this episode for an exciting announcement about what's coming from CRM Audio. Now enjoy this episode, which is part 2 of George and Sean's adventures at the 2016 MVP Summit.
We're coming to you live from the MVP Summit. We're at the Business Solutions Happy Hour. Again, it's just George and I. Joel continues to deprive his children of a college education by gambling it away in Las Vegas. At least that's what I'm reporting. And we have a special guest, I think our first Microsoft employee. Is that not right, George?
Technically, we previewed Microsoft employee by interviewing Mitch before he became a Microsoft employee. So technically pre, but live, yes. It's our first Microsoft guest.
All right, and that's none other than the man himself, Pervin Patel. Welcome, Pervin.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
And you are, I just asked you and I totally forgot what your title was again.
I am Senior Technical Program Manager, but you can always refer to me as the MVP lead.
And that's why we're talking to him. So,
he's the one who decides who comes, who goes.
He is the wonderful man who said, yes, this round little man
gets in.
With hairy feet gets in. And I will be ever grateful. So Pervin, let me ask you. First off, what does the MVP program mean to you?
Family. So I've been in the CRM world in all sorts of different software implementations now for 18 years. And exclusively to Dynamics CRM for 13 years. So over the course of my time, as many, many people have done over the years, we've discovered that there is a vibrant Dynamics CRM community that shares a lot of information. Not only code, but just different things that they discovered along the way. And for me, when I was asked to take this role, it was more of a culmination of being able to pay it back. For all the times that I pinged various MVPs or even other consultants and asked them questions, this is for me to be able to give that return back.
The one thing I noticed that we've had many MVP leads, as you said, throughout the years. I've been, I think, for 4 or 5, but
5 at least.
5 at least, and. The last one I kind of remember was long term, and then had the big shoes to fill was Jim Glass. That was years ago, and he did create. I joined in, and he was there, and he did maintain the same notion of the family. But throughout the years, it's kind of program. I would say, from my perspective, it's a bit run flat. A number of years. So what difference do you think you're going to make? What do you want to do with it? Like how you can invigorate it?
To be very transparent, it's been a disservice is what's happened to the CRM MVPs. For almost a year now, you didn't have a counterpart that you can engage, be your advocate to the product team. That is, to me, when you become a Microsoft MVP, your biggest advantage that you get is direct access to the product team. And y'all have been operating without that access now for a year, still being our advocates. So at the end of the day, what I want to make sure happens is that y'all get not only the credit that you deserve, but then we can take this and take it to the next level. Beyond even what my aspirations are, I just want to make sure that not only A, that you get recognized for all the great intuitive solutions that you've come up with, but B, that we can continue driving CRM to be the best in class. And yes, we are neck and neck with Salesforce. Some people say that they're ahead. Some people say that we're ahead. But at the end of the day, I want to make sure that the people that are our biggest advocates are taken care of. And that to me is enough reward at the end of the day. You could pay me as much money. It's not anything to have that return on investment where someone says, I appreciate the fact that you're our advocate. To me, that's the biggest return that you can get.
So that's from MVP standpoint of view. How you pitch your role to the team, to the Dynamics 365 team?
Actually, it was the reverse. The role was pitched to me. And so it kind of goes back to my own history and involvement in the family as limited as I am initially. And so to give you context, I was on the outside world, no different from what you all are, whether you're a partner, ISV, or even independent consultant for a very long time. I even worked as a contractor within Microsoft for a good number of years until 5 years ago. And 5 years ago, I actually was nominated to be an MVP. And at the same time, I was also offered a position here within Microsoft IT, their internal CRM team. And as part of that, we actually also built the first iteration of what ended up being CRM Online. So with that said, it was more of a, okay, I can be an MVP, but my goal was to be part of the product team. And what was intriguing about the role and that position was I would be essentially looking at every problem across Microsoft and IT and then being able to throw CRM to it and saying, okay, well, we have core recruiting practices. Can we build a new recruiting module within CRM? Absolutely. Give me all the information you want to do. Oh, you want LinkedIn information. You want social information before we even acquired social listening. So I've had the great distinction of being able to really push the envelope of what the product is, and that's always been my passion for it. At the end of the day, I want to make sure that not only is our product CRM the best in class, but it's always been the thing that I feel that needs to happen. It's relationship management. It's the tangible pieces. And to me, if we can solve that through just software, then all the other pieces in the world can easily line up behind it. I mean, for me, I get up in the morning and I'm ready to attack it. If that wasn't the case, then I know I need to walk away. And I've never had that experience with CRM.
Okay, if it's all about CRM, let me ask you a very direct question.
Okay.
There is about 92 MVPs. Do you have our names in your CRM?
Absolutely.
Boom.
Let me actually
Dog
make
food
that
at its best.
Well, let me make sure it's very clear.
I'm not referring to your plate.
So I do have every name of our CRM MVPs in my CRM instance. Actually, two of them: my test instance and my full production instance.
So here we go. Now we're now test subjects.
Yeah, you are, because I have a lot of interesting
guinea
things
pigs.
planned. Guinea pigs as well. But what I've discovered through our own privacy issues, I would say issues, but privacy requirements, is I actually can't get your contact information. Yes, you all have access to the DL, which everyone can see.
Right.
You can definitely ping, and I can see your email, and I can take that information then. But I don't have. I've even asked for it, and I said, it would be great if I can actually reach out to my community and talk to them aside from a DL, maybe do one-on-ones. No, I couldn't get that information.
Ooh.
So all the new MVPs that have been onboarded recently that have not responded to the DL, I don't have their names. And there's several in Japan, China that I just know their names. I can't contact them.
I can give you at least, I think, Japanese and Malaysian one.
Then I will be certainly taking you up on that.
Just
offer.
because they reached out to me and say, and I looked it up who you are, and you are, it's kind of, okay, you're an MVP, must be newly baked one, because that's the first time I hear about it.
Hopefully I will now have 92 email addresses and maybe some phone numbers too.
Anytime. The lines are open, just don't call Australia in the middle of the night and we're good. So, I mean, we talk between ourselves, we discuss it all the time.
Right.
What does one have to do, who is passionate about the product, to become an MVP?
Yes.
So there's, as part of the Microsoft MVP program, there are 6 criteria sets that they look at from a category standpoint. And I've had a couple beers, so I'm not going to be able to name off specifically all 6 off the top of my head.
I'll help you out. It's number 1, number 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6.
Okay. So
there you go.
We've covered those, and they'll probably insert that into audio clip a little later. But it's obviously social. There's also video aspect. There's also engagement from the community, mentoring, and
Conferences. The one that is surprisingly missing is open source and tools.
Yes. And in fact, I just had this conversation, and one guy specifically in particular, Tanguy, who I have a lot of respect for, and built
Everyone does.
Yes, absolutely.
XRM toolbox.
Absolutely.
It's been in my back pocket for years. And in fact, I've actually beaten several of my dev teams and saying, if you don't have that in your toolbox, then you're not part of my team.
That's right. You don't have a toolbox.
And even more so, we should be building more tools like that to make things simpler, easier.
Yeah.
I mean, that to me is innovation at its best.
Absolutely.
So
and it should be recognized,
So the way that I've also wanted to restructure the MVP program, at least from the CRM aspect, business solutions, if you wanted to take it one step further up, is I want to make sure that all the MVPs are getting credit for all of the impressive things that you're doing across the entire board. And it doesn't even mean, just tools. It's the mentoring. I just talked to an MVP, and she was actually worried about her status because she wasn't contributing much as a developer, and she didn't know what other things she can really do to be able to maintain her status. And I was like, well, let's talk. And through that conversation, I discovered that she was working with a lot of women who had no opportunity, no income, no job, and she's actually mentored them to actually be full-on functional consultants in CRM space. And that to me, it's like, not only it gets a nice warm fuzzy feelings, but that's growing a community.
Yeah.
And not only that, you're continually adding to that community. And for me, that's got to be a criteria. I mean, if I was to look at all the other product groups, if I went to any leader, any CVP in those product groups, and I told that story, they would go, yes, that question should be a criteria. Why isn't it?
Right.
So,
but that's like criteria-wise. The one thing I dislike about listing all the criteria, the moment you publish them, people say, okay, I need to do 15 blog posts. So whatever the number was, and it's like, tick, tick, tick. Surely that's not enough, right? So I see people reposting someone else's content.
Well, here's the thing.
No, to me it's all about being passionate.
Yes, so it's not just churning out numbers. It's when you do these things, there needs to be substance. You need to put a little bit of yourself in it. I know a lot of people that, and for the longest time, I have fallen down on my blogging, and I'm fixing that. But
that's what he's been saying for
I know, but no, it's an obligation now. It's my job now. I have to do it. So, but I see so many that, like you're saying, it's just like reposted from this, and it's a blog.
There's no innovation. There's no creativity there, and I'm not penalizing people for reposting, but I want to make sure that people understand. Yeah, the world is full of a lot of people that like to rehash things, and I don't. I've seen code that still exists in CRM 3 and 4, that still exist in live production environments. Should that be the case? No. There should be an evolution. People should think outside the box.
Right.
So, should I give credit for it? I mean, my honest opinion, if that's just one thing that you've done and that's all you do is repost, I don't see any value behind that. You're not really doing much for your community aside from just giving credit to someone. It's a retweet. And to be honest, I'm not a Twitter fan myself, but what do you do at the end of the day but besides contribute to someone else's user reach? You're not doing anything for yourself. You're not adding any value.
Okay, let me put a different twist on it. Let's say what I hear, it's all about reach, it's about community interaction and so forth. Let's assume someone with it. And without naming names, we do have people on the program that do not do perhaps as much of community interaction as you want to, but at the same time, the moment that they have an opportunity to engage with the production team, their feedback is like, from my perspective, it's like invaluable.
Right.
Let's say, take it to extreme. Let's say I do nothing. I do nothing except I take the preview and I pull it to pieces and I actually give you feedback, kick-ass feedback that it's worth 20 other, people on the team itself, right? Would you keep me on the program then?
Yes. Feedback is critical. And let me be even more transparent behind this because there's a cultural shift that's happening here at Microsoft. In the old world, and I'm not going to differentiate when the old world was, but in the old world, it was, I only want to hear good feedback.
Right.
And if it's bad feedback, as long as my manager doesn't hear that bad feedback or anyone else that I have to fix it, then I might listen to it then.
Right.
That does everyone a horrific disservice. Because at the end of the day, all you're doing is closing yourself off from innovation. You lose innovation, you lose thought leadership behind that. And what's happening within Microsoft is we've started recognizing that we've been stupid. That we've filtered out a lot of the bad feedback, even critical feedback, and not really thought about it from there is substance behind this. We need to figure out why this is causing that type of reaction. Either it might be just or not just. We need to figure out what it is that's driving that, and that allows us to break through the mold. When we say that we're world class, when we say that we're on top of the mountain, those are the types of attributes that people do to stay on top of the mountain. And to be honest, I've even said this even a couple years ago, Microsoft is not on top of the mountain anymore, no question. So that hunger for me is translated back into making sure that we're doing realistic and doing right by the community by listening to all feedback. Either it might be good, bad, or indifferent, critical, whatever the case may be, listen to the feedback. And then that allows you to be able to go, okay, we need to start listening to, either it might be a 5-year-old kid that might be testing out hardware.
10-year-old cyber expert.
It could be even an 80-year-old that started coding 2 days ago. I mean, we need to start listening to it because there is something back there that's driving feedback, whether it's good or bad. So if we completely ignore it, then we don't deserve to be on top, to be honest.
Right.
Well, to be on top of the mountain, technically speaking, you have to walk over other people. So it's
it's a dog-eat-dog world.
Yeah,
I mean, yes, and that's why when I come back and say yes, at some point you have to have some sort of criteria or benchmark to know what it is to be able to say that you've at least made one mark. I just want to make sure that people understand that it's not a case where it's a grade school test, and that if you fail one test, that means it's the end of the world. What I want to make sure people is this is more of a university program where you have leeway, where we can understand, there's definitely things in the real world that happen that allow us a little bit of personal touch.
Right.
So it's not a case where I'm just simply looking at it from a BI dashboard and going, okay, George, you're done. Yeah. You haven't done anything in the last 6 months, and I really just get tired of listening to you. So, sorry. It's a case where, okay, you gave 100 feedback items that went to my entire feature team, and they actually addressed 50% of it. That to me adds value.
Yeah. And thank you for not using my name in that example, because I may have just openly cried right here and now.
But
I'm just saying.
I'll be very direct in the question. You don't if there are some reasons you don't want to answer, you can't give me an answer.
Okay.
You don't have to. Joel, you can cut it out completely the second. So, do you expect give me a short-term and long-term. Do you expect numbers of MVPs to diminish and or to go up? Give me both short and long-term.
Short term, if we do not change how we're evaluating the MVP program, it will diminish. No question. Because for me, one of the core items that's being tracked as part of the Microsoft MVP programs that isn't really have a big weight, but for me it has big weight, is mentoring. If we aren't growing the community, then we're dying. We're dying on a limb. So for me, when I talk to an MVP and see the amount of time that she's putting in trying to grow a community, and give people different options of saying, I had no skill sets before this person worked with me, and suddenly I now am able to feed my family and all these things. Those are the nice, warm, touchy feelings, but that suddenly adds to our family. And the more that we add to our family, the more that we protect ourselves at the end of the day, because then we continue to foster, we continue to innovate, and we continue to grow. Well, if we don't do that, we're dead.
And do you see, is there any kind of, taking it a different angle, is there any kind of initiative to include more either diversity, whether it's various countries, geolocations, whether women, whatever? Do you have those kind of initiatives in mind, or is that something that's going to just happen because they'll be qualified and they'll?
We need to get someone from Greenland. Seriously.
Well, I see where you're going. It's
that will be butt of all jokes. Right?
It's not to just include, right? They have to be qualified.
Yes.
They have to get nominated. Mm-hmm. So, how do you see going into those areas to try to find those people?
I wish I had a real answer to definitively say that is my new strategy. But to be honest, where I figured my short-term goals were is to take our existing MVP program and then add enough options for making sure that mentoring becomes a focus. And then from there, it's almost, I'm not going to say viral because I actually don't like the word viral, but it's a case where we can capitalize on paying it forward. And then as we can increase that reach, where we bring in yet another person into the family, the family continues to grow, it becomes stronger. And for me, then it's easier for us to start looking into different areas for diversity, different options for geos. But right now, to be honest, when I took over this program, there was no love. The MVP program was essentially whittling down. So my short-term goal, to come back to George, is I need to make sure that current MVPs not only understand how I want them to be measured, but what it actually adds value to us at the end of the day. Right. And then from there, from the long term, I want the snowball to happen. I want it to turn into a case where I can go back to my friends over at Salesforce and go, ha,
right,
we've done it.
Interesting. So speaking of Salesforce, like changing the subject a bit.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm not going to talk about Salesforce, but changing the subject, talking about product features. And we've been asking all our guests. We've got avalanche of features coming out now. We've got bucket loads scheduled for spring and beyond. I still haven't grasped with what's coming out.
There's a lot. There's a lot.
There's a lot to digest. What I can or cannot tell. I'm lost. So I'm not telling anyone anything, right? So, but out of the things we can discuss publicly, what's your favorite feature?
Editable grids.
Edible grids. He also says edible. Mark was talking yesterday about edible grids, and you also talked about edible. We should rename them. Edible grids. Not editable, edible.
Yeah.
Well,
you can eat them for breakfast.
I have a southern accent too, is for anyone that's not.
So it's kiwi and a salad. Okay.
So, especially after I drink a couple beers, and it comes back out again.
That's
otherwise,
right.
But that's been an ask for a long time. And in fact, I'll recount a very interesting story. When I was an independent consultant, and still looking across the community for different options, solutions, and this is back in this year in 4 days, so you were limited to what you could do. I ran across Dave Barry, and he had actually just published, literally that day, his customization So that through JavaScript, it would re-engineer the grid and be able to get a grid. And it was literally the day that he published it, and I was like, holy cow, that is exactly what I've been looking for. And then I took it to the customer, and I was like, this is a free solution. It's probably not even stable, but if you're looking for that type of approach, being able to edit your grid, here you go. And it was simple, point and click, and it would work. And I was like, that to me is out-of-box thinking, where Dave simply just said, okay, I'd like to be able to do this. It's not that difficult. There was definitely some challenges that he had, and Dave and I came back and forth, and I was like, okay, this is what happened when this happened. Okay, what kind of fields are you using? Oh, okay. So that to me is...
And it took only 8 years to Microsoft to realize that, yes, there is value in it.
And
it should be in the core product.
I know. I mean, there's ISVs out there that have certainly made a good killing off of selling their own version of the grid. And, not to throw all the other ISVs out the bus, but at the end of the day, I mean, there was the argument of, Jesus, this is a scenario that every customer, not from just enterprise, but SMB, is asking for.
There's a lot of ISVs, like we do resell one of the grid products, for example. And interestingly enough, majority of customers are nowhere near Serum Online or nowhere near Serum 2016.
Right.
So they stay as they are.
If you go back to all of the MVP asks for years,
oh, yeah.
That's always been on the
Absolutely.
list.
It's really interesting. If like what your favorite features?
I saw it on the list even before I even was an MVP or at least a nominee at that point. So, that to me allows for unique innovation, and if that actually saves someone 5 extra clicks, adds value.
Absolutely. Well, perfect. We've taken enough of your time, and we really appreciate you.
There's still food on your plate.
Yes. If the running joke that you can ever hear within Microsoft is, you can always time the amount of food that's on my plate in the number of hours, because I eat throughout the entire day from the same plate. And I actually have seen in meetings where people are like, he hasn't even eaten a bite of the chicken. When is he going to eat? It's 3:30.
Come on, take a bite.
Come on, you're going to fall over. No, I just like to graze.
Well, we really do appreciate it, all the work you're doing for the MVP program.
The change is noticeable. I have to say, change is noticeable.
Yes.
I know when I write something to the Alice and send the email, I know it will not go unnoticed.
Right.
Even though I was just recently, even though I didn't receive direct replies, when I talked to people after the fact, turns out that wheels were in motion.
Yeah.
So
And it being my
appreciated.
first summit, my first experience with the program, I could definitely feel that family, even though I'm having to deal with George constantly. And
I'm sorry.
I don't have Joel to protect me, as I usually do. But yes, I definitely feel the family, and I thank you for that.
At the end of the day, what we want to make sure is, as Jara said before, we need to start showing love. And y'all have not gotten any love for almost a year now. So it's not a case where this is artificial. This is me making sure that family is taken care of. Family first.
That's a great
Thank
way.
you very
That's a
much.
great place to stop.
Yep, and I hope to see you next year. I hope this podcast counts like for 5 out of 6 criteria. Right?
Yeah, hopefully you've gotten maybe like 5 more listeners out of it that once you start putting my name to it.
Okay, that's a deal. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
With Daryl LaBar. Well, Daryl, what do you do? How did you get to become an MVP?
I'm currently a consultant at a consulting firm based out of Indianapolis. And how I became an MVP is kind of a mystery, I think, to all of us. But at least to me, I contribute a lot to Stack Overflow. I have a lot of open source tools. I contribute a lot to the XRM Toolbox. To that, I have a unit testing framework that I've been working on for about 3 to 4 years. I'll be speaking about that at Extreme CRM here coming up in December.
Very
and
cool.
That's been a really
bit of peddling.
Yeah.
He's learning.
Of course,
A bit of peddling.
Yeah. So how does the just high level? How does the unit testing framework work?
It's at the core. It's a fake XRM instance. So
A
rather
fake
than-
XRM instance.
Yeah.
We gotta engrave it somewhere. A fake XRM instance.
I found a C# in-memory database back in the day, and I was at a place where it took 20 seconds to delete a single record. And I was doing unit testing connecting to CRM, and if it takes 20 seconds to delete a single record, that's not a unit test. That's
Right.
just forever.
Yes.
And so I just went through and it's like, well, how do I do this? And so I was like, I'll create an in-memory database, and I'll create an iOrganization service wrapper that will map everything to the in-memory database calls.
Why do you need a database? Oh, you're actually doing some kind of persistence.
Yeah, well, I need to be able to handle all the queries, right? And so either I have to map queries manually, or I just map them to the.
Maybe you should sell it to
calls.
Microsoft, and they keep it all in memory
Yeah.
instead of SQL Server. It will be faster.
Yeah, it would be.
Yes, it would. Yes, it would.
Yeah, faster.
So it works like that, and there's also a lot of things that allow you to switch back and forth because it's not perfect. It doesn't do anything around security. So if you have any testing that involves some sort of security, you've got to. You can't unit test it very easily, or so it's a lot easier.
I think
just to
we're
connect.
done here. No
Yeah.
security.
No
Yeah.
security, yeah.
So, but it primarily unit tests code that
Yes,
you write?
yes. It's totally just for C#, either plugins or if you have a service that's connecting to CRM. So it's just the iOrganization
How
service.
about actions and the workflow
Yes,
activities?
actions and workflows and plugins and any SDKs connections or interactions.
Okay.
Any code-based extensions, basically.
So how are you enjoying your time at the summit? Basically, what's the most exciting thing you think happened to you throughout the 3 days?
The most exciting thing for me was just being able to meet all these people in person that I had only known through online interactions. Kind of had a little bit of star shock just because of all the things that they've done, and like, oh, at least he did this, or they did that, and so for a while I was like, I don't know if I could be in the same room. Like, I need to be somewhere else because I'm just.
That's a great idea, guys. You both first comers, but that's come next year. You hopefully will be second year.
Yeah.
But we should have like a table reserved, like a ostracized table.
Yes.
Like 2 meters distance,
Yeah.
and the area clear.
Don't gaze directly at them.
Charge them to use the vending
just
machine.
walk back.
That's
Well, I will say, and I don't know if you feel the same way, Daryl, but I was concerned coming in that when we have these sessions that I would not be able to really, I wouldn't be able to just, I don't want to say speak intelligently, because of course I could speak intelligently, but I didn't want to say anything stupid, right? So as we're giving feedback to the product team, you have all, people have been here forever, like George and like, Scott Sewell and Gus and Julie. And I going in, I'm like, I don't know if I should say anything because I don't want to say something stupid. Did you get any of that?
I felt a little bit of that, but I kind of know where my core is.
Yeah.
And so there's all this stuff I have nothing to say to add to that because
Right.
people have 13 years of experience
Right.
doing this stuff. But then when it came to the areas of, the add-in for Visual Studios and
Right.
it's generating the early bound entities. So
Right.
that's my cup of tea. So I didn't have
Right.
any issues standing up there. But yeah, for the other issues, you definitely I should have everything there. Hey, raise your hand if you've done this. Raise your hand. I'm like, I haven't done any of this stuff.
Yeah, but it did that that overall theme that we've been talking about throughout all of our summit talks is that sense of family. It really did come through.
It did, yes.
Because it made I was very comfortable very quick.
Yes.
And it was really great how everyone was collaborating right away, and there was no friction. So I was really happy about that. Yeah, it's interesting to where the Dynamics 365 launched on November 1st, and yet we're trickling things out even still. So it's a totally different world than what it was even 4 years ago. Where you knew something was coming, you weren't really sure when, you weren't really sure what, you didn't know if it was going to be worth doing anything about or having to tell your customers. Now we have these defined releases with, and at least us in the MVP program, we're getting forward glances at what's coming, and you could see real business case usage of it, and for some other things, frustration on, and you're at a project level because you're like, oh damn, now I'm gonna have to undo that code that I wrote to do this, to leverage out of box. But it's exciting. It's an exciting time.
Have you done any sightseeing?
No, I haven't had the opportunity to do any sightseeing.
So it's in and out and behaving like a fourth-time MVP.
Yeah.
You're supposed to do sightseeing for the first 3 years.
Oh,
Different.
No time for sightseeing, George.
But my only sightseeing was walking around on the Microsoft campus trying to figure out how to get into the building because
Yeah.
there's nobody there, and I showed up a little early, and I was like, "Where do I go?"
Yeah.
No, it's a mystery. Whoever designed it's like, I think someone got really grumpy with Microsoft. So when they were asking for design, they couldn't say no because they were contractually obliged. But then say, "I'm gonna create buildings." So it's completely.
It's kind
completely awful. It's like from A to B, even though it's a straight line, I make it so miserable that you have to get out of this building, go into the next one, and then come out through the garage, and go 3 levels up, and then cross the bridge, and then go down, and come out again, and through the different door, get to the point where you were planning to be. So it's like it's a mystery.
Yeah. So, what would you say to other first timers coming in? So the next crop coming in.
Don't come in.
What would you tell them in terms of would you say they should definitely come to Summit? And B, what would you tell them to do to prepare for Summit?
The first question is easy. It's for me, it's the best part of being an MVP because you get to meet the actual family and you get plugged in and to be a part of it and contribute to it as well as just to have a lot of fun too at the same time. So yeah, that definitely come. And then the second question was how to prepare for it, and I think it's to prepare for it. I probably would have came earlier than when I came this year. I arrived about 3:30 in the afternoon on Sunday, and there was an evening social event that I had barely caught. So I would have been a lot better served coming earlier than that. So definitely come earlier, and maybe stay a little bit later, just because there's things that go on if you stay around just a little bit longer. And a lot of the event planning isn't even finalized by the time usually people are booking their tickets.
Right.
And so you may think that's all there is, but they may add more things, and at least they did this time. So George can speak to it. That happens usually, but I know I booked the tickets. Oh, that would have been great to go to, but now I'm not going to be able to do it.
I would say stock up some sleep beforehand because you're not going to get too much sleep.
I learned that. Yeah.
And get your hotel early too, because I was way away from everything else. So it's like a 20-minute walk just to get up to where everybody else is at.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's good.
I
It's
exercise.
walk,
I need some exercise.
Did you? So there is a when you sign up for Summit, Microsoft will at least this year will cover the expenses of the hotel if you have a roommate.
Yes.
Did you have a roommate?
I did have a roommate. Yes.
Any? I mean, how did it go? Did you ever see him?
I didn't see him.
I barely saw him.
I didn't see him too much, mostly because I wasn't there too much.
Exactly.
So I was. He was from Russia and but moved to Canada and has been living in Canada for about 10 years. So he was a little slow on communicating just because he's probably his third language or whatever, and I only know one. So it was fine, and we went to bed pretty much the same time and woke up pretty much the same time, and. I don't think I snored, and I don't think he snored. So what more can you ask for a roommate that you're never there to see?
Yeah, my roommate, very cool, from China, developer.
Pronounce his name.
It was Tony Q.
Really? Tony?
Yeah.
Tony. It's like sounds like a mafia name. Like
that's what his name badge said.
Tony Q.
That's what his name badge said.
Yeah.
So whatever, that's what I got.
Okay, I think that's for us. Did you discover he's native?
No, that's a thing that we talked about briefly as I was going out the door to meet you.
You couldn't pronounce it.
No, it was. I don't even. It never even came up. We were
no,
never.
It did come up. You just passed your.
It literally never came up.
It just shot straight through your.
Yeah, I don't think it did.
Through your, ignorant Caucasian ear, and just came out at the other end, and you didn't hear it.
Regardless,
he
was very cool. But he made a comment that when I was leaving, I said, "It's very nice to meet you. It was a great week." And he goes, yeah, we never really got to talk at all. He goes, and
that's the guy coming from the guy who
Yeah.
goes to sleep in HoloLens.
Yeah, and he goes, you come in late, you leave early, you're never here. And I said, okay, yeah, you're
Sounds
right.
like a classic family life.
Yeah. So, but I got to try HoloLens, so that's cool.
Interesting. So, out of the coming release, not the stuff that we can't talk about, but out of the coming release that is coming out right now as we
Right.
speak and rolling out,
Dynamics
and it's
365.
going to be, Dynamics 365. What feature gets you excited most?
That's a question that I don't know if I can even answer. I will say the thing that I am at least most...
He sounds disappointed.
A little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on.
Well, generally I don't try to stay on the bleeding edge of all the features that are coming out because I'm mostly dealing in the back-end stuff, and
Right.
that doesn't change a whole lot. And so I'm trying to do some other things while they're talking about some other things, and I'm
You
catching bits and
bleed
pieces
alone
of it.
in a dark room and no one hears you cry.
Yeah. So
That's the back-end story.
I will say, thing that I'm wondering how it's going to evolve are the developer extensions for Visual Studio that they just released, and I know they've got some more changes that they're planning to make, and they had some issues and they had to pull it back, and so they're going to continue to improve that. But
Why does it get you excited? I mean, there's at least two free extensions of kind, and there's one at least commercial product that definitely worth the money. What's in the dev tools coming out of the dev team, I suppose? What's in it that gets you excited, and you can do now something that you couldn't have done for 2 years when these tools were off the grid?
do you have an example that you're excited about?
Sorry?
Do you have an example that you're excited about?
About the tools?
Yeah.
I'm not very excited about them. The only reason why I sort of get them on board, at least in their present shape and form, is compatibility between the projects. So sometimes I take some consultant roles where I need to do review and what's not, and it's the lowest common denominator typically.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I can't ask everyone involved to buy commercial license of the commercial tool, and the other tools, they kind of cover some areas really good, but then they have gaps.
Okay.
This one is kind of lowest denominator. That's value for me. When I walk into some enterprise, they all have it, right? And you can always rely on it just being denominator. So I'm kind of, I'm not, I wouldn't say excited, but I'm pleased that they finally got around to releasing it. So that's for me. But as far as CRM feature is concerned, so you're sitting in a dark room, okay, there must be some changes for the little people in the dark room.
I'm excited to get into Flow and to see what the power of that and what it offers. And
The flow.
Flow.
You just excluded yourself from the actual wizards of the back room, because real developers don't use Flow.
Well,
Real developers use, repeat after me, logic apps. Right? That's what people in back room use.
It was.
They don't use this fancy.
It was like watching a small animal go to get a crumb of meat, and then the net just pulled him right up. That's what I just saw right here. I saw it happening, and I was like, "Oh, Daryl. Oh, Daryl."
No, the flow is good. Flow is good.
No, it is.
I like. To me, it's new Microsoft success. It's like everyone discovers it, and then together with Power Apps, it's like everyone is excited. Then you get users discovering for themselves and piling up teeny weeny, awful little apps that you got to maintain them for the rest of your life. So. But yes, real developers use logic apps.
Well,
That's what you should be. What I would expect. I'll challenge you. Okay, come next fall. Conferences, new rounds here, MUG. There will be Extreme, right? You gotta do a good talk on logic apps and working with CRM.
all right, that's my challenge.
Even
Okay.
in spring, whatever first conference comes along after December. So do a talk on logic apps. Okay,
There you
so
go.
I think, thank you very much, Daryl. Hope to see you next year. Oh, well, I'll see you in December, but hope to see you next year at the conferences and back at the summit. And remember, the fun begins at 11.
This is Joel Lindstrom, not at the MVP Summit, but I'm here with Captain Redlaces, Scott Sewell.
Hi, Joel.
And we had some exciting news, and that is a new show. Basically, a new feature that's going to be on the same RSS feed as CRM Audio. We do CRM Audio about every other week, so we figured, what should we put? What is important enough to put in those weeks between episodes? And we thought, we're getting a lot of stuff about Power BI, and who do we know that does Power BI? And that's where Captain Redlaces is the expert.
That's right. I'm here for you, man.
What are we going to do with the Captain Redlaces Power BI corner, Scott?
Nobody puts Captain Redlaces in the corner. So, no, we're gonna. It's great. I think it's an exciting time to be a part of this market, and working with Dynamic CRM or 365. Sorry. Working with this, and Power BI is now coming on strong as a really strong piece of technology. I'm excited we're going to get a chance to talk about it.
Yeah. What do you think, Mr. Hobbit?
Oh, okay.
You'd like to hear.
So for Power BI, my biggest if I could give a wish list to Captain Redlaces, it's how to embed those really impressive charts and graphs and visualizations into my UI within 365 to really make a big impression from a usability standpoint. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely get into that. We'll also talk about things like some of the new the new OData feeds that are available. We'll talk about some of the other things. My goal is for the Captain Redlaces Power BI corner is since these worlds are coming together so much, and we got Power BI coming into the mobile app for Dynamics 365. It's something that's of interest to both Dynamics users now, but also people more wanting to do analytics, maybe even outside of the CRM world. So it's pretty exciting stuff, and there's a ton of topics.
There's a real natural affinity between the two, so I'm excited to be able to talk about it with you.
I'm hoping you can demystify it, Scott. That's what I'm looking for.
I gotta leave a little bit of mystery in it.
All right, so Sean, what would your suggestion be for a theme song for Captain Redlaces? I mean, you got Power, you got Captain Redlaces, kind of a superhero thing going on.
The first thing that comes to mind,
you got Power BI.
Is the theme to the old cartoon for Masters of the Universe. right in the front, he goes, "I have the power.
I've got the power, BI."
Yeah, either that or "I've Got the Power" by Snap from the '80s.
There's some real good choices there.
I'm just going to veto if you put like ABBA's Dancing Queen or anything as my walk-on.
What about Waterloo?
All right, well, gentlemen, we'll look forward to that. Look for the first episode of Captain Redlaces next week.
Great, looking forward to it.
This has been CRM Audio, the Microsoft Dynamics CRM podcast. You can hear previous episodes on our website, crm.audio. Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, follow us on Twitter at CRM Audio, or leave us a comment on our Facebook page, facebook.com/CRM podcast. If you have any topic suggestions or questions that you would like for us to answer on a future episode, please drop us an email at voice@crm.audio. Special thanks to Dale Simmons for our theme music. Go check out his website, dalesimmons.com. Please join us next time on CRM Audio.